Okay, we're gonna do a real quick one today. So, side of salmon, just happened to have it, so I thought it'd be a good video. You probably hear my wife cooking in the background and my daughter on TV. But I mean, that's life, right? So, this is a side of salmon. Normally you would have a little bit more up here. The head piece is kind of missing, but that's okay. So, the skin is on. So I'm gonna teach you how to take the skin off and just break it down. So the first thing I like to do is cut off the belly flap, which is this piece right here. And normally they're bigger than this, but right where this has like a chevron or a triangle kind of shape to it is kind of where you go. Right where it gets really low. And you cut that off and all of a sudden it looks more like a nicer piece of salmon. This is great if you want to hot smoke it, or I like it hot smoked, and then you can put it in like a Sunday brunch for like egg white omelets and stuff like that. Also the tail piece, which would be here back, is great for that as well, because if you're in a fine dining restaurant, you should never be serving a tail piece. I'm going to use 2 knives today. I have my small fillet knife and I have my slicing knife, which, I mean, I could use the fillet knife just for this. I just like the slicing knife a little better. So we're going to take the skin off of this. So what I'm going to do is, I am right-handed, so I am actually going to cut towards the right. I'm going to take this, and like right here at the end, I'm going to cut towards the back. And then I'm going to cut forward under between the meat and the skin, and you can see like the bloodline right there. And now when I do this, I have seen some people do it, and I have also in the past, poke a hole through the skin. And you do that so you can put your thumb through the skin to kind of grab hold of it. If you're doing a lot of salmon, sometimes it makes sense to do that because your hands get a little slick. Also, I move it to the edge of the board. And let me move my camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I move it to the edge of the board, so just like when you're cutting an onion, you don't hit your knuckles on the board. So I'm gonna take my knife, I'm gonna put it under the skin. My knife is gonna kind of be like at a 15-degree angle towards the cutting board, and I'm just gonna slowly cut. If you try, I mean, you can push through, and I check it periodically to see right there, and I'm getting a little thin there. Just slice, 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 slice. 15 degrees, nice and parallel. We're gonna check it, it's still looking good. Now I'm taking off a little bit of that bloodline, but I don't really care about the bloodline because I'm gonna take that off anyway. Ooh, I got a little high there. And there we go, and I'm through. And that's gonna take a little bit of practice. I'm gonna move this to the side, and you can see that, I mean, I got the slightest little bit of meat there and on here, but mostly it's bloodline. Now, if you want to make this like super crispy, you can find a recipe on my teams on how to make like crispy salmon skin, which we have done before, where really you want to take like a bench scraper and scrape all this fat, all this meat off. And then you can either put it in the fryer or you can put it in a low oven and crisp it up with some salt, and it's fantastic. So I'll put that on the side. And now we're gonna flip this guy over, and you can see that we have a little bit of bloodline here, and you can see right in the middle where I said, ooh, I'm getting a little close, that's where it was. So this is where my fillet knife comes in. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut, actually I might move it a little bit. I'm gonna cut right here, and I'm gonna cut towards the center. So I'm just gonna use and cut that bloodline off, because most of the salmon fishiness comes from there. And you just take a little bit at a time going towards the center. And now I'm gonna flip it around the other way. And I'm gonna do the same thing, cutting towards the center. See it right there? And then I cut straight down. And this takes practice. I realize that I am making it look easy. And actually, if you look at how much meat I took off, it's like absolutely nothing. It's like microscopic. Also, it might look a little choppy while you're practicing doing this. but no one's gonna see the bottom of the fish, right? So while you get better at doing this, it's okay. No one, like, everybody did it when they started. Everybody's fish looked a little choppy. Now you're gonna have a little bit in the center. That's okay. Let's work on the other side of the fish. If you notice, I'm like turning it, like curling it over. So I normally wouldn't do this, but I wanna keep it on camera. And so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just gonna, like, you can see how many little cuts I'm making. And that's really what you want to do. You don't want to make big cuts. You can hold it up with your hand. That also works. You want to make sure that you have a nice sharp knife. Be careful because you are kind of cutting towards yourself. If you are smoking the salmon, hot smoking the salmon, you don't need to do the tail piece. I'm going to flip it around. It's kind of like boning a chicken. Remember how I taught you that you need to make the chicken in the spot that's best for you? Salmon is kind of the same. And all I'm doing is shaving off the bloodline. And if you have a dull knife, it's not going to do this. A sharp, thin knife. I could also do it with my big slicing knife, but I find the smaller the knife, the better it works. I'm also using a white cutting board. That's because I'm doing this at my house and I only have white cutting boards. There we go. A little bit right there. Boom. Okay, last little bit. And if you notice, there's some connective tissue right here. You can just kind of get this right off, just like that. You can also do it right here towards the edge. No one wants to eat this. Okay, and you see that like most of the bloodline is off. So if you don't like fishy fish or you have people who are very picky, this will help it out a lot. That looks good. And then we're gonna flip it back over. I'm gonna flip it this way. Ooh, I feel a pin bone right there. Hold on one second. Okay, so I had to get out my tweezers or my needle nose. These are only used for food. So I'm not out working on my car with them. This is a little low for a pin bone. There we go. Little bit of a bone. Now, most of the time, like right here, this is where you're gonna feel your pin bones. So just run your finger. If you feel pin bones, just pull them out. Okay, now we're gonna portion. Always work from the big side to the little side. And you wanna do about 8-ounce portions. You can weigh it if you want. I'm just doing portions for dinner. Nice smooth cut. That's a nice dinner portion. In my mind, I'm always thinking portions for me, portions for the wife. So there's an adult portion. There's another adult portion. That's another adult portion. And then 2 kid portions. Or if you want to, you could even cut it like this, and then you could have 2 kid portions, but also this is how you would cut it if you were doing a banquet and you don't want people to take a lot of food, like maybe there's a lot of food on the buffet. This is a buffet portion. And you could even do that ahead of time and then just cut it from there. Okay, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. You could grill it, you could saute it. Always remember when you grill fish that you should spray it a lot or oil it up and then finish it in the oven. And if you are going to saute it, sear it, turn it over, finish it in the oven, and cook it medium. Have a good day. See you in class.